marriage is good for families. Like, I want to get married, but I just think that the laws need to change to make it equal for men. In the US, it's even worse. But here there's issues too. But in the US, like, I'm from Chicago, and there's a case where a woman literally took the kid to Japan.
Wow.
And she claimed child support because she said, oh, he's not in the kid's life legally. And she gets roughly 10K a month to steal his child. When there are cases like that all over the country, there's cases like that in the UK too. When that is the outcome of divorce, like, if I was a guy, I would be scared shitless to get married. Yeah.
Yo, welcome to Little Black Book. Little Black Book, you know what time it is. Giving you guys a quick live. We're talking about this fear mongering, you know. Shout out to a good friend of mine. He's a pastor and I love his stuff. I wanted to talk about this topic because I feel like I'm tired. Okay, I'm tired of the fear mongering. Okay, we had a conversation yesterday on the men's panel, and I touched on it, that fear mongering thing that happens. But the reality is, especially in Manosphere, Pink Pill, even Cynthia G stuff, the divestment groups, all these extreme groups, Passport Bros, everything like that, they are born out of fear. Honestly, I'm sick and tired. Okay, it's not just Manosphere, it's Pink Pill, it's divestment folks, Cynthia G, Kevin Samuels, all those people in those groups, Passport Bros, whatever you want to call it, they are born out of fear. And it's like going, do you know what it is? It's wild because, like, if you've ever grown up in church, you know this kind of fear mongering preaching. That's exactly what they're doing. These groups are preaching, and they're preaching that fear mongering so that you can buy into their program. I'm sick and tired of it, to be honest. I'm tired of it, right? And the very people that buy into these things are the ones who are not critically thinking. You see, because a lot of people, men and women, are looking for leaders. They don't think for themselves and they don't critically think. So when the information comes in, they just accept it. It's just like church all over again. You go to church, someone preaches the Bible, and you don't even read it for yourself. Hey, this is not me going against church. I'm against people that are cultic. I'm against people that don't preach the full gospel. I'm against those kind of people, right? I'm all for church, but I'm against churches where people just preach and people don't even consider the word of God. They don't even read it themselves. They don't even critically think. They don't even have a relationship with Jesus themselves to actually find out, Jesus, what you said about the word. And it's the same thing in these spaces, the same cultic kind of behavior. Instead of you being a steward to the information you're hearing and going out and researching it, you don't. You just soak it in, and then you allow this fear mongering to happen, and then it begins to dictate what you actually think and feel. Now, did you even hear what she said? Let me make it very clear. Do you hear what she said? Let me just break this to you. And this is what happens. And then people go down this particular route, and you can hear the fear in the way they talk about things, right? Listen to this again, what she says, right? There, this is on a YouTube channel. I was on this particular platform about last year again. It's called Make It Common. Very good YouTube channel. If you haven't checked it out, please go and check it out, guys. For those of you in America and my audience, go check it out. It's called Make It Common. You'll see it in a second or two. But listen to this conversation. They on their show is a bit like I'm trying to remember what show also does this similarly. Jubilee. Like, they're similar to Jubilee. What happens is when they come on to they choose a bunch of people, they ask a question, and then if you agree, you come and sit down at the chair and you begin to discuss, etc., etc. Right? So this is a interesting conversation. They're having a conversation about marriage, right? And so this is really key, right? So if you're new to the channel, like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification of the uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. We appreciate you as well. All right, cool. Let's get into this, right? Okay. So first and foremost, let me just say this as well. Oftentimes when people fearmonger, they have a rhetoric, and this is how you can spot them. Right? Oftentimes when people don't actually have their own truth about a subject, you will hear the same rhetoric mentioned several times by several different people, and they sound exactly the same. Do you know why? The reason why they sound like robots is because they don't have their own truth. They've never actually done it themselves. They've never done any research. They've never critically thought about it. It just sounds good. And it's like, yeah, I agree. But they've never actually done their own work. And this is actually the same. They have the same issue religious folks have. When I say religious people, I'm not talking about for us as Christians being born again. I'm talking about religious folks who don't actually study their word. They sound exactly like these people when you argue them. Same with Muslims, same with Hindu, same with whatever kind of religion there is out there. When they don't actually have their own truth, you will hear it. because it'll be the same rhetoric. They'll be quoting somebody who has taught them and not actually their own research. And it's the exact same thing in these groups as well. Listen to this conversation. Let's break it down, right? Listen to this conversation.
Their goals and aspirations for what they want out of that union, marriage, that's where the clash happens. If they're not aligned, it won't work.
No, they ask people why they file, and the number one reason is financial. And oftentimes it's like because a girl starts out earning her husband, and then she.
And that's what I'm saying about value.
Yeah.
If you love someone, you're going to want to see them grow.
But the majority of people that get divorced still remarry though.
Exactly, like myself.
So they obviously saw the value in the institution,
right?
For them to go and look for it again, even though they had a failed one the first time.
I agree with I think marriage is good for families. Like, I want to get married, but I just think that the laws need to change to make it equal for men. In the US.
Pause right there. Let's stop there, right? Now, she says obviously that she likes marriage. She thinks it's great for families, but it needs to change in order for men. Well, first and foremost, we should be talking about how not to get to a place where we're going to be divorced, because that's what we're talking about, right? We need to be talking about situations where we don't even want to forget divorce, because divorce is the end. That's when we failed. No offense to anybody who has divorced, but it's a fail, right? The same way when if I get married and I get divorced, I failed in that area. It's okay, we can go again. But if you get to that end, then we failed. So what we need to be doing is focusing on, before we get to that stage, let's work on relationship skills. Let's work on relationship ethics. Let's work on how to be emotionally intelligent. Let's work on things, how to make sure that both relations between men and women are going to be in such a way that we're able to coexist in a marriage. I'm not blaming men. I'm not blaming women. I'm just saying in general, let's focus on that before we get to the end. So sense of graduation. AW, I'm tired of you. Let's work on it so that we don't get to that part, right? Let's work on it so we don't get to that part. We're talking about laws now. And okay, let's have a look at this, right?
It's even worse, but here there's issues too. But in the US, like, I'm from Chicago, and there's a case where a woman literally took the kid to Japan.
Wow.
And she claimed child support because she said, oh, he's not in the kid's life legally. And she gets roughly 10K a month to steal his child. When there are cases like that all over the country, there's cases like that in the UK too. When that is the outcome of divorce, like, if I was a guy, I would be scared shitless to get married. Yeah.
Let's pause it there. Okay. First and foremost, I love the story she gave. Do you know why? Because it's a part of that fear-mongering I want to talk about, right? Fear-mongering, right? Let me put it this way so you can actually see it on the screen, okay? Listen. Deliberate spreading of frightening and exaggerated rumors of an impending danger to purposely arouse fear in order to manipulate the public. These groups tell stories anecdotally of situations that are minority, not majority. It's so frustrating when you hear these kind of things. She told a story. I'm not saying she's lying. I'm not saying that she was false. I'm saying that is one story that's not the majority. And it's like there may be other cases where people have got, but it's not the majority. And that's where the fear mongering begins to kick in, right? And then and then what they're trying to do is get you to a place where you start feeling fear, because when you start feeling fear, you can begin to herd people into a particular mindset. You know what's so funny? I was thinking about this when I was going on the way to the cinema. I went to watch Avatar for the second time, but I wanted to watch it in 3D. But on the way to Avatar, as I was cycling, I started thinking about it. Do you know how funny it is? We outnumber the government and we outnumber police, right? We outnumber those who are lawmakers. We outnumber those who enforce the law. And we outnumber tax people. Yet, somehow, they manage to keep everybody in check. How do they do that? Well, we give us rules, and then we give us consequences of those rules, right? And a subsidiary of that is, part of it is, we can call it respect, but the other part is fear. You fear that if you break the law, there's going to be a consequence. The way they keep the mass herd in check is to create fear, right? So even what we saw with the Big C, this year, the Big C. Do you know what's so funny about the Big C? All right, is that we were joking about this on Twitter. There was a book that came out, said that this Big C, this particular illness will come out and it will disappear. And all of a sudden, we've done a year or two of lockdown and ting done up. We're not even talking about C anymore. We're not even talking about C anymore. But yet, what they did was, even if on YouTube, if I mention the word, the whole word, suddenly your video will go into, suddenly your video can't be monetized. Suddenly they're going to check and say it's not true. And yet, within a short amount of space of time, the C is done. We're not even talking about C no more. Fear-mongering is a real thing. It creates herd mentality to get people to do what they want them to do. And and to control the masses, you control them with fear. And this is the exact same thing with these groups. They use fear as a motivated emotion. By the way, we emotionally buy. So whenever we're buying things, we emotionally buy things. We attach things to emotions. And so whenever you fearmonger, people are using your fear against you so that you can buy into their particular product or service. And so I'm listening to this and I'm like, she told this wild story. And she's like, I would be scared if I was a man if this happened. But that's only one story. That's a minority, not the majority of stories of what happens. You feel me? So for me, I'm like, yo, like at the end of the day, these situations, in these situations, why is it that we go to the most extreme to prove this point? It's because we're trying to fearmonger. Right? Listen to the rest of this conversation. We'll listen.
Yeah. The reason I didn't see myself getting married is kind of what you said, the way the laws are today. Yes, marriage can mean different things to different people, but the contract is very much there. And the way the laws work today, it puts men in an incredibly vulnerable position. A lot of people don't realize that divorce is one of the #1 factors for why men over 40 kill themselves, because they are emotionally, financially, economically devastated. My name is Kit Isarosho. I'm a full-time actor and content creator. Because of our attitudes today, there's not really much you can have, or rather, you can have everything that the meaning of marriage brings outside of the contract of marriage.
Let me be honest with you. Let me be honest with you. Hey, shout out to Kit. But I'm gonna tell you the truth. You're scared. It's simple as that, right? And it's got nothing to do with the laws. Like, I get tired of men. See, this is men. I need you to fix up. You are not scared because of laws. You're scared that someone's gonna take advantage of you. You're scared your discernment's not good enough to choose a right type of partner that would actually be with you long term. We are scared that we will get taken advantage of. That's the reality. It's got nothing to do with the laws. The laws are not scaring you. The laws of how divorce works is not scaring you. Stop it. How can that be the part that's scaring you? Because that's at the end of a relationship not working. What's scaring you is in the beginning. We have to talk about the very first thing that's scaring you. What's scaring you is that this might not work because a woman might take advantage of you. You have a negative outlook on how you see women. You think that women are going to marry you and take half. That's the mindset. That's the real fear. It's not the law. See, so that's what I'm saying. That people use things as proponents and as representatives and things that, oh, the reason why I'm afraid of marriage is because of the laws, and the laws support men. You got a commitment issue. Just be honest about it. You got a commitment issue. You're not afraid of the law. The law is only there at the end if this thing breaks down. You are afraid of women. Right? And if I say it like that, they're going to sound like it's being offensive. And it's like, no, I'm not afraid of women. And what I mean by being afraid of women is that you're afraid of the commitment that this could go wrong, that she could take advantage of you, because you become vulnerable when you go into a relationship. So do you know what we have to do? We have to actually spend time. The Bible says, dwell with women according to knowledge. Dwell with them according to knowledge. I bet if we talk to Kit and other men like him and we speak to them, you will see that their imagery of marriage has been tarnished by negative outcomes. You're not afraid of the law. You're afraid of what you've seen. That's what you're afraid of. You're afraid of the very things that you've seen. That's the real fear. It's not the law. If the law was more fair, and you know what they said, you know what? At the end of a divorce, okay, a woman leaves whatever she leaves with, and you have what you have, right? And the kids can go 50-50. We don't have to even fight it. You'll still be fearful. Because the fear isn't the law. The fear is the fact that the commitment of this woman. Your fear will be that she'll cheat on you. Your fear will be that she'll take half. Your fear is about the fact being taken advantage of. And I just feel like sometimes when these arguments happen, we try to put other things in place to say it. But that ain't it. That ain't it. Let's just be real. Let's be real. The law is not what you're afraid of, because the law is going to support women. It's just like it's just like, again, the fear mongering around men and claiming their children. And I keep saying this, that irrespective of whatever happens, if you love your child that much, you're going to have to do what you've got to do. We watch films all the time of family. I just watched Avatar. You don't see how you don't ever see how James Sully was going after his family. When you love your family that much, you're willing to die for your family. Being a part of being a protector is a sacrifice, but because it costs $5,000, you don't want to do it. Right? The mindset should start with us. For me, particularly as a man, I'm saying the mindset should start at, I don't care what happens. I have to see my child, whatever way that means. If that means I have to go to court, I'm going to go to court. If that means I have to find a way to work it out with my baby mother before I get to court, I'm going to do that. What we need is to be able to have solutions to problems. I got to have a solution orientated mind. I'm not saying that things don't happen. I'm not saying there aren't extreme cases out there. Did we not just see a video where a man went to prison for 10 years based on child support? But is that every man? That's what I'm talking about. When we take an example that is an extreme example of something that was crazy that happened, and then you use it as a precedence, and use it as a basis foundation. We've all heard the story. We've all heard the story where there was a I think it was a white guy who didn't pay child support, and it wasn't even his kid in the end. He went to prison for 10 years. Now, how many stories have you heard of that? How many stories have you heard of a man going to prison because of child support and he's been 10 years? How many times have you heard that? But if you tell that story and you make it as if it's a precedence, then you're fear-mongering, because it's a one-off. It's a one-off. Just saying. You know what I mean? It's a one-off. That's what we're talking about, fear-mongering, you know?
I think that marriage in the Western world has become a joke. It's become a reality show. You got 90 Day Fiance. You got Love at First Sight, Married at First Sight. My name is Sarah Garvey. I am a professional podcaster, social commentator, and generally a people that pisses people off. You got all of these marriage shows, and then people want to act like marriage is some kind of sanctimonious, holy thing. It's not. It's literally a reality show. And so when people are watching these things on a day-to-day basis and consuming marriage, literally, there are people on TV that have 90 days to get a visa and marry.
But it's
right?
because it's relatable. So they have cooking shows because cooking is relatable.
Yeah, but
they have makeup shows.
Cooking's not holy.
Makeup is relatable. It's just a topic.
But cooking's not holy.
Marriage doesn't have to be holy.
No, but marriage is a union.
Civil ceremony and
yeah, all right.
You guys don't come on. You guys don't think that that's
See, and you know what I love? Moving. There we go. We're back. Sorry, my internet was moving mad. So Sarah Garvey says, obviously that he says obviously that that marriage has become this reality TV show. And look, there's an aspect of truth to this. But again, let's not make it a precedent. Okay, let's not make it a precedent. It is not the precedence. Right? It's like saying it's like saying rap represents a whole of black community. It's ridiculous. It doesn't represent the whole thing. It's a section or an idea or even an aspect of our community, not the whole thing. Like if someone says, when I say rap, I mean like if you listen to gangster rap or you listen to a rap where it talks about negativity, that's not the whole community. That's not how the whole community lives. It's a section or a shard of. And so when you watch a reality TV show of Married at First Sight or 90 Day Fiance, it's a shard of reality of what people have, but it's not the precedence. And again, using that as an argument is the fear-mongering I'm talking about. Because why is that where your starting point is? Marriage is it's a joke nowadays. Well, if it's a joke for other people, why it's not a joke for you, right? So you find somebody who doesn't think marriage is a joke. You're saying, and he started going on the line of marriage is now holy. So if marriage is holy, find somebody who thinks marriage is holy. You're anti-marriage, but why won't you find somebody who has the same mindset as you? Doesn't that seem antiquated? Doesn't that seem how do you say paradoxical in your thinking? You are thinking that marriage is holy, a holy union, and there are people who don't take it seriously. Okay, then find somebody who takes it seriously. What's going on here? I don't understand. The marriage is holy, fine, okay, it's holy. There's so many religious groups out there who think it's holy too. Go and find one of them. And I'm being facetious when I say go and find one of them, but I'm saying in the sense of there are other people who think like you. Why are you trying to now be anti-marriage? And because what? Because society has turned a shard of an aspect into a reality TV. I don't. Again, it's almost like a strawman argument, almost slightly, but it's It
says something about our society
Yeah,
today.
the society's broken.
That's what I was going to say. It comes back to the propaganda of why those shows exist, and maybe the agenda behind of why that show actually exists.
No, the thing is, it exists because it can only exist if there is a market for consumption for it. Because you can have something on the shelf that people don't like, and people won't buy it. But the bottom line is people,
relatable. Everybody knows.
Right, so then the society is broken.
So paint a picture of what that should look like, or propaganda and agenda behind that, and be like.
So society doesn't take marriage seriously, and that you can go back to the statistics.
No. That's not. And see, what he's done is made a blanket statement again, and now made it the whole of society. That's the fear-monger I'm talking about again. Your fear is now making it everyone. You know, like this is exactly what we talk about. This is exactly what Manosphere talk about. It's like you don't even realize you're doing it. You start blanketing when we start saying, when women start saying men are trash, and men want to push back. We say, how can you say men are trash? It's not all men. It's your men that you've dated. I say fair play, right? Because it's the men that she's dated. That's why men are trash. You keep choosing the wrong ones. Fantastic. She doesn't represent the whole of society, and her dating men, those men don't represent the whole of society. Why then is it that you're taking 90 Day Fiancé and Married at First Sight as an inclination that the whole society doesn't rate marriage? When the populace who watch Married at First Sight does not trump the populace in society. That don't make no sense. You taking a show of Married at First Sight, 90 Day Fiancé, and saying those people that watch that TV show represent the whole of society. No, it's a shard of. It's a shard of. And that's what I'm talking about. Fear-mongering again, when you create an argument. It is only a shard of. And there's actually no excuse for why you don't actually like marriage. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just, like, you know what I mean? If you want, it's a representation that society doesn't take things. No, the people who watch the TV, I love Married at First Sight, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not about to get married at first sight, but I love the show. I'm going to talk about it. It's a reflection of what some people do, and some people do marry that way. Some people do not think about anything else and get married because of money. Some people get married because they want love. Some people marry because they want kids. Some people marry for wrong reasons, right reasons, whatever it is. But it doesn't mean that's the whole of society as a reflection on a whole.
50% of marriages end in divorce. If I
that doesn't mean.
No, but hang on.
On top of that, it's mostly the.
Doesn't mean that taking it seriously.
But hang on. But if I said to you, you can go to your greatest holiday destination, the best one you can go to, you can think of in your mind, and you get on that plane, and that plane has a 50% chance of reaching your destination, you're going to get on that plane?
Well, no, but that's two different things.
No, you won't, because you know that it's too risky to actually get on the plane, right? But you're expecting me. You're looking at it from a paradigm of risk.
You don't think it's that serious when you could lose custody of your children? Like, that's serious.
It's very serious, which is why you have to weigh this. This is why you have to weigh this up, and this is why you have to be intentional about your decision making. We know that marriage is at 50% now, that divorce and thing, and it might even get less than that, right? But the reality is, the reality of the situation is this: if you don't get married, what are you doing? So you think that marriage is the issue? No. That's where you're gonna miss it. You see, this is let me break it down for you. Understand this. Marriage is not going to be the issue, because marriage isn't the issue. Man is the issue. You don't get married. Are you not telling me you're not having sex and having children? If you don't get the frick out of here, You think you're solving the issue by not getting married and getting divorced because the state's not involved. You having children out of wedlock, not you specifically, but people having children out of wedlock does not change the situation. You still have the mother and the father issues. You still have the issues in terms of finances. You still have those issues. The fight is different because the state's not involved. But people are hurt, people are broken, people are pissed off. The same thing happens. So take marriage out of it. You're still going to be doing the same things. You're still going to be doing the same things, right? It's like, oh, when the state gets involved and they take the kid off the father. Well, what happens when you don't marry? What happens when you don't marry? And then you have kids. What happens then? How do you fight over those kids then? Let's say the woman does what the woman's going to do anyway, right? You're still going to court. Do you see what I'm saying? You can't avoid it. You actually can't. So when you say about marriage isn't your fear. Your fear is a human being. It is women, or vice versa, women for men. That's where your fear actually lies. And you're using marriage as the issue. Marriage is not the issue. The laws aren't the issue. The issue is man. The issue is the heart of man. It is wicked and deceitful above all things. And it's selfish. And so when you encounter man, you have issues. So what? Now you're saying that marriage is an issue. So are we not going to deal with women anymore? Y'all ain't having sex no more. You're forgetting that. You know what I'm saying? You're still going to be involved. Somehow, some way, you're going to end up in the same position. Marriage isn't the issue. The issue is you. The issue is me. The issue is her. It's man. Marriage is just a vehicle that's commandeering our relationship of the rules that we are going to engage by. But the reality is the human beings involved still have to operate within the scope. You take marriage out of it, are you not dating anymore? You take marriage out of it, are you not together anymore? You take marriage out of it, you're not still having kids? Are you still not being a father? You're not free. Just want to let you know. So you're not just anti-marriage, then you got to be anti-relationships. My headphone be dropping and anyway, let me play the clip. Be moving mad out here, kids.
Like how many relationships say you have a child or whatever? You had a relationship, you didn't get married or whatever. How many of those break up?
Exactly, and there's so many baby fathers that don't get to see their children for one night stand.
I think
so. It still doesn't make sense.
You've
got baby mothers that are not letting you see your children. You don't need to be married for that.
You're right. I'm with it. Like I think the laws are like those laws need to change too.
Yeah,
I'm not. But I'm saying like right now the laws disproportionately affect men. So if men don't start walking away, there will never be change.
Maybe men need to fight. The same way women have to fight.
Men need to get the law changed.
They make fun of men. Like when they say I do this all the time. I interview people on the street daily. When I talk about men's rights, women will come and say, men, like what rights do they need? But they don't understand like the law.
And so what if they laugh? I don't get these. So women are laughing at men because they want rights. Are there not men out there that laugh at women? They want rights. At the end of the day, you need to go and fight what you need to go fight for. White people be laughing at black people for our rights. It doesn't matter who's laughing. If we need rights, go and fight for those rights. You see, this is the stuff I'm talking about. It's given an excuse, and I don't like that. What should be is that if there's a need to change the law, we need to go and fight to change the law. That's fine. Let's go and fight and change those laws that are not helping in the situation. If that's the case, let's go and do that. But making an excuse that when women laugh at men, that's the reason why we're not going. You need to go and fight. It's your kid. If they're laughing at you, so what? If they're laughing at you, so what? What is the problem if they're laughing? Let them laugh. You have to go and do a job. Huh? You haven't got a choice. But the problem is you're thinking you've got a choice here. And as the lady said herself, you can be a one night stand and you still have the same issues. And so marriage isn't the issue. Again, she made my point. Marriage isn't the issues. You know what I mean? The issue isn't marriage. The issue is you.
So marriage is an outdated institution.
I'll stay.
If you agree, you stay, yeah?
Yeah, do I?
I'm gonna bring.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree.
It's outdated.
I don't think it's outdated.
Yeah, it's outdated. I've already got the new contract. Yeah, because we're talking about contract. I've got the new contract. Yeah. I think human beings right now should do either temporary marriage contracts or rolling relationship contracts. And I mean this. I mean, if you find someone that you actually want to be with, yeah, you can laugh.
It's true though. I agree with you.
Listen, you can laugh, but the way the divorce rate's going right now, it's
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
But I'm saying if you have like a relationship contract that lasts it, you decide with your partner, well, let's try this for a year. If we're happy after a year, we'll continue the contract. And within that contract, you can stipulate to your partner and your partner can stipulate to you exactly what they want from the relationship and exactly what.
Hey, what's the point? What is the point? Nah, this is nuts. You see, when you start making points that are nuts, I start laughing. This is nuts. Do you know what that's called? It's called dating. You know what that's called? It's called dating, sir. When you want to start making up rules as to how you're going to engage in a relationship, it's called dating. So you don't need to get married to do that. Do you understand? Like, what is the point of your point? It makes no sense. If you want to do that, then all you got to do is have that conversation before you get married. Why are you stressing yourself? Because you want marriage. Do you see? No. Do you know why he's making that issue? Because he wants marriage. And this is why I said that when people are not being honest about how they actually feel, and when it comes from a fear place, this is the kind of stuff that comes out. No offense to him, he's a smart individual. I'm not even cussing him. I'm saying, but this is a dumb idea. It's a dumb idea because to do what you're doing, it's called dating. It's called dating. You gather data and you ask questions. The problem is, if you want to talk about this, are you gathering enough data? Do you know exactly what you need from a relationship, a marriage? But you want to do a rolling contract. Basically, you want to have a revolving door where you can exit. The whole point of marriage is that there's no exit door. That's the whole point. That we're committed for life and we're ready to commit to that. But if you want to have a rolling contract, that is dating. Go and date. Why are you here? Go and date. You want to make a temporary marriage for what? Go and date. Does that make sense? The whole point of marriage is that the union comes together, right? I'm talking from a spiritual perspective. The union comes together, two are becoming one. It's a lifelong commitment. If you're talking in terms of legal agreement, you can still have rights in civil. You know, you can still have rights as civil agreement or civil partnership. You can still have that. You can still have some rights. In fact, go and fight for civil rights as marriage. If you want that one, go and fight. Go and join the LGBTQA and go and fight for civil rights in your relationships. You have the same issues again. The issue isn't the marriage. Again, the issue is you. You want to do conversation about a rolling contract in marriage. What's the point? You're dating at that point. That doesn't make sense.
What they expect from the relationship.
The reason I think marriage is outdated is because a lot of ways in how the government oversees marriage is largely based on the way society worked 60 years ago. So the whole reason why, the divorce court and family court seem today so biased towards the woman was because those laws were set up in a time where women didn't have the same earning potential as men. They didn't have the same rights as men. But now they do, but those laws haven't been updated.
So wait. So is marriage out? Listen to what you're saying. So is marriage outdated or is the divorce laws outdated? No, if we want to really be specific here, is marriage as an institution outdated or is because all you're talking about is not marriage. What you're talking about is when the marriage fails. That's got nothing to do with marriage. That's got to do with divorce. That's when you fail. You're not talking about marriage. Marriage itself, you didn't mention anything in there that had anything to do with marriage. You mentioned everything to do with divorce. And the divorce law has been outdated due to women's earning power. That's got nothing to do with marriage. At that point, we're not talking about marriage. We're talking about divorce. So you're talking about divorce laws, not marriage. If your marriage works, you don't have this conversation. You don't have this conversation. You don't have this conversation. If your marriage works, you don't have this conversation. You have a completely different conversation. So it's when the relationship doesn't work, when the marriage doesn't work, and it gets to divorce now, the laws for divorce are different. You see what I'm saying? Oh.
So I do think it's outdated. Also, there was a conversation earlier saying that marriage is taken seriously in the government. No, it's not. Because in marriage, you say for better, for worse, till death do us part, and people get divorced all the time. I would consider getting married today if it was illegal to get divorced.
I hear that. I actually hear that.
Yeah,
because it's too easy to get divorced.
Too easy.
I think.
You pause. Let me pause right there. So you would get married if the laws were changed that you couldn't get divorced. Even God himself at a point had to tell man, you know what? Because of your hard heads, I'm giving you divorce. I don't like it, but I'm going to give you divorce. Even God himself said that. But you want to now change the law. That's what I'm saying about the fear that you have. Your fear isn't marriage. Your fear is being taken advantage of. Your fear is choosing somebody who doesn't want to stay the course of the course that you're going to go on. That's your fear. It's not marriage. Your fear is a human being. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? Your focus of where your fear isn't marriage. You're using marriage as the issue, but it's not the issue. The issue is you have a problem with being taken advantage of. That's where you fear. That's where you fear. And that's okay. You're a human being. You understand? So now you have to work on that fear. We have to pinpoint, where does that fear come from? You see, because there's other people who are not having that fear. And the reason why they don't have that fear is because they're seeing a different imagery when it comes to marriage. You see me?
Marriage as an institution works, but the problem is the way they do it today just doesn't work. Women are different today than they were in the 1950s. It's not the same type of women.
And essentially, what was marriage for? Like, when you got married, you were getting married to a virgin. That's the whole white dress thing, right? You'll be hard-pressed to find a virgin woman nowadays. You know what I mean? You're going to get married.
You'd be hard-pressed to find a virgin man. Where are you going with this? You'd be hard-pressed to find a virgin man. None of you are virgins. Would you stop this nonsense? It's so nonsense. You yourself are not married. You're not married. You yourself are not a virgin. You yourself did not save yourself for marriage. What are you talking about? You're talking about finding a virgin woman. You're not a virgin yourself. I'm sick and tired. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm sick and tired of this kind of stuff. It's not logical. You are not a virgin, but you're asking for someone to be a virgin. Can you deep the nonsense you're talking about? Deep what you're saying. You yourself are not a virgin, but you're asking that the law is because in marriage people are virgins. You're not a virgin. The issue isn't with women alone. The issue is with your own counterparts. You're talking about the society's change. You've changed it because you yourself are not a virgin. And that's okay. Come on. Let's be real. You're not a virgin. It's okay. You're not a virgin. I'm not a virgin. She's not a virgin. That girl's not a virgin. It doesn't mean that you can't get married. It doesn't mean that marriage's not working. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about people that were virgins getting married. Yeah, but Charlie, you're not a virgin. You fell prey to the society too. So you have a grace. And the person shall have grace for you too. You're not a virgin. And what the difference does it make if the person is a virgin? Even if you don't get married and you go into a relationship, you are not a virgin, you're gonna have the same problems.
So a man knows that he was going to get this woman untouched and she was going to be his for life. Yeah. You ain't getting no untouched woman nowadays.
And that's the thing. If a woman slept with, if she's a virgin, she has an 80% chance of having a happy marriage in 10 years. If she slept with more than 5 partners, which most men would pray for nowadays, it goes down to a 20% chance. So women are different than they were in the 1950s.
Also as well, I think nowadays people get married for love, but marriage has always been about duty.
Yes.
It's always been about, when you say you marry someone, you're saying, I am committing to fulfilling the role of being the husband to you and the father to the children, for better, for worse, and vice versa, for the woman being the wife and the mother. But now everybody gets married for love, and love fluctuates. But
people get married for clout.
You also
not just love. It's so true.
You also used to have the families involved.
Very much so.
And so like fathers would vet the people that their daughters were seeing.
Right.
But now it's like, girls will go after the guy that like feels good.
Feels good,
but that's not usually the best husband.
And guys will do the same thing. Guys will go after a girl that
An IG baddie.
Yeah, an IG baddie that looks great. And you know what? Her whole attitude is ridiculous. And she
Yeah.
doesn't know how to be a mother. She doesn't know how to be a cook. She doesn't know how to clean. She doesn't know how to...
So, as he made a point, right? Oh, my screen went off. Sorry, guys. Let me put my camera on because I think I lost it's dead. But okay, my camera be moving mad. But and I have to keep it short now because my camera's gone off. But yeah, look. So in reality, here, right, the situation, what they're talking about, right? He's saying obviously that marriage, the people's mindset towards marriage has changed. Fantastic. What's your mindset? Because remember, they're anti-marriage. So my question is, what's your mindset? Is your mindset that you're duty filled? Is your mindset that you're not going to marry just for love, but you're going to marry for duty? Is your mindset these? If your mindset is these things, find somebody who has that same mindset and then get married. Do you see what I'm saying? Because the complaint doesn't make the complaint. The understanding that what you're saying is, I understand what you're saying. There are people who are doing things that are not necessarily for the right reasons. So then, but do you have the right reasons? Are you duty filled? That's the question I'm asking. Are you specific? Are you a person who sees a marriage as a long-term thing? Then find somebody else who feels it just like you. But instead, you're vying and trying to say that the whole of society thinks like this. This is why you're not getting married. Deep what you're actually saying. Right? Deep what you're actually saying. So now you're trying to quit marriage because you believe that everyone's got that mindset. Otherwise, why don't you just find somebody who has the same mindset as you? Someone who thinks that marriage is long term. Someone who thinks marriage is about duty as well as love. Somebody who thinks about putting the kids first, whatever. But why not find somebody who has the same level of mindset? Instead, you're anti-marriage. Because what you're saying is, if I'm anti-marriage, because the tide is most people think that way. I don't know.
Do all of the things that you would expect from the duties that you would expect from a wife. So yeah, I just think, the institution's outdated because I think human beings in the West generally have outgrown the essentials of what marriage is.
And that's the issue that I have with that, because how have they outgrown the essentials of what marriage is? Marriage essentially isn't about you being a man and being a woman. Marriage is a reflection of what God has produced first and foremost. Let me just be very clear with you. Some of you don't really know this. Let me break it down for you for any of you out there. Marriage is a reflection of what the Lamb. Now behold the Lamb, precious Lamb of God. You know what I'm saying? Born into sin. So anyway, we go. But you know what? It's a reflection of what the Lamb is, and us as his bride, us marrying the Lamb. And as he marries us, there is an eternal bond between ourselves and the Lamb forever. Marriage on earth is meant to be a reflection of that, a reflection. Okay. A reflection, a shard of, because it's not the full thing. And what you're supposed to have is that the man and the woman are supposed to serve one another. It's supposed, and because we've fallen, unfortunately, sorry, because we've fallen and we're in a fallen state after Adam and Eve, what marriage is now showing you is just how fallen you actually are. Marriage shows you just how hard it is, right, to love the way that God loves. Marriage shows you just how powerful God's love really is, because you can't do it the same way he does it. Right? The forgiveness that he can do for you. You struggling to forgive your wife because she didn't wash the dish. I'm struggling to forgive my wife because I we had an argument yesterday and she told me to shut up and I can't forgive her now. Right? Because marriage is about servitude. That's what it's actually about. So marriage can't be antiquated. It can't be outdated, because servitude exists wherever, whenever, whatever time. It's always going to exist. If we're talking about what marriage really is, it is servitude to one another. It is death to self and sacrifice. So there's no way that marriage can be outdated, because if you're focused on that, servitude, sacrifice, and compromise, understanding that my love here for you means I've got to die in aspects. If that's the focus, marriage can never be outdated. You're lying to yourself, because the principles still exist. You're lying to yourself. marriage cannot be outdated. And like I said, none of them mentioned anything about marriage itself and it being and anything of the qualities of marriage being outdated. You spoke about the laws, but the laws were concerning divorce. You want to talk about people's mindsets? Yes, there are people who don't take marriage seriously. Yes, there are people that go into marriage and are unprepared. Yes, there are all those kind of things. But the reality is, marriage can't be outdated because it's simply a lifelong commitment where one honors God first and foremost. Yes, till death do us part. We're supposed to have that, but things happen, right? Things happen. When both parties are committed to servitude in a relationship, you know, that's why I loved what Deval Ellis said. Deval Ellis said, you know what? I wake up thinking how best can I improve the life of my wife? And she said she wasn't even thinking that. It took her a while to even get that thinking. When you get that thinking where it's like, I want to serve you, and that's what it's about, you realize marriage is never outdated. It's outdated when people don't want to do that. Yes, it's outdated, but it's not outdated by marriage. Marriage isn't outdated. People are outdated. They don't realize what the principles are. They're outdated. That's what's causing marriage to move the way it is. Anyway, let me just quickly do this.
Got their claws out.
I can hear the chairs like creaking back there. Like,
being outdated. You think it's not outdated?
The divorce statement. It is hard to get divorced. I say that because there are several steps you have to take. You have to prove to the courts that you have tried everything. You have to go through mediation. You've got to go to counseling. Mm-hmm. You've got to get a decree nisi. You then have to wait 6 months, a year to see whether you can form again, and then you get your divorce.
Would you agree that if 50% of people that get married are doing it, it's not that hard? Because it's not hard enough that it deters. But
that means out of us 6, half of us would be able to get a divorce.
But that's the same way that if I had 6 women here, half of us would probably be able to make babies and half wouldn't. And some would say it's easy to procreate. No. Some would say it's easy to conceive. Some say it was easy to give birth, but it's not.
No, do you think it's hard to give birth?
That's incorrect. That's incorrect.
I think most women can give birth.
80% of women have reproduced historically.
I'm talking about how complicated it is with the food that we eat, the contraceptives that we take, the lifestyle that we choose to live.
Right.
Things are complicated.
If you make
when I'm talking about twerking, because I twerk,
you do twerk?
I do.
Oh, okay.
Does that mean that I'm not wife material?
To some men, yeah.
If you were my wife, and you went to a club and you were twerking,
so are we saying strippers are not
get
wife
out
material?
of here, man.
Wait, that's your value.
They're not.
It's her job.
I agree.
But why can't it be my job? Why can't it be my job? I got a fat ass and I know how to make
not
money
my wife.
for me. Why?
Someone else's wife. It be someone else's wife.
This is what you.
She got off the rails. I don't know where she going, but Olga went off the rails. Okay, Olga went right off the rails with this conversation. I don't know where she going, but she got off the rails. I need her to come back. Rope that back in. Leave that point alone. That's not necessary. Leave that point alone. It's not necessary. Leave that one alone, darling. Yeah.
You want to do, you want the benefits without the consequences. Like the consequences, men aren't attracted to women that shake their ass on a pole outside of a one-night stand. They're not attracted to that long-term typically because historically men had to ensure paternity.
So I'm at carnival and I'm shaking my ass. I'm not wife material.
No.
Can I ask you?
That's completely different context. And again, context is really important. Carnival, listen, people, I don't want anyone saying people are married people who've gone carnival and shake their ass. Okay, carnival is a different context to being on a pole and a stripper pole. I think you need to. Don't bring carnival into it. Leave carnival alone. Carnival is separate. Please leave carnival alone. Okay, leave carnival where carnival is. Okay, we don't compare that to stripping on the poles. Please.
No, I'm being serious.
Can I ask you a question?
You are ruling out half of the band in carnival, yeah?
I tell you what you are. You're someone else's wife material. You're not mine. But I'm saying if you go to a club and you're twerking with a guy and you're my wife, you're no longer my wife. You're his girl for the night. For some reason, you're his girl because my wife wouldn't do that.
Marriage is a concept that serves to trap women.
All right, cool. Listen, so guys, I'm gonna leave it there because my camera's even failed me. So, I have to go and charge my phone. But listen, I honestly do believe, it's crazy listening to this conversation. I don't know how it went to the twerk situation. We can discuss that another time as well because I will be honest with you. why would my wife be twerking on somebody else? Why would my wife be twerking on a pole? I'm sorry, I personally can't do it. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I personally can't do it. If my wife was a stripper, I personally couldn't marry that person. I'm not about to empower you to say, listen, if that's what you believe, you want to get married, that's up to you. But me personally, I can't do it. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm sure there are a lot of guys who couldn't do it either. There is a consequence to that, of course, but again, I don't know how that came into a conversation about divorce and marriage and what they were talking about. Don't know how that got involved, but yeah, it doesn't make no sense to me. But anyway, so I'm gonna leave it there, guys. Like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification uploads. I think I need to do one more live. I need to do Kristen Rock. We need to talk about her and Blueface because it's crazy out here in them streets. But like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button, guys. We appreciate you guys. So locked and stay loaded. We'll be back, I think, in about 10 or 15 minutes or so, right? So I'll try and see if I can come back.